And you can also reach us on our WhatsApp number. That is 724-0008. So again, our main line number is 452-3046. And on WhatsApp, you can message in or you can call in, and that is 724-0008. Now, today we want to send out some birthday greetings to Mr. Elias Ben. Happy birthday to you, Elias. And we do hope that you're having a fantastic birthday celebration. And also to Mr. Kuma Nelson, happy birthday to you. Wish you an absolutely fantastic, wonderful birthday as well. Bit of history, looking back in time, in the year 1861, the Federal Army of 75,000 volunteers was mobilized by President Abraham Lincoln at the start of the American Civil War. In the year 1874, the first Impressionist art exhibition opened in Paris, and it featured Claude Monet, Edgar Degas, Pierre-Auguste Renoir, and Camille Pissarro, as well as Berthe Morisot. Some very big names in there in the artistic world. 1877, the world's first home telephone was installed in Somerville, Massachusetts, at the house of Charles Williams Jr. And in the year 1912, on this day, the RMS Titanic sank at 2:20 a.m. off Newfoundland as the band played on with the loss of between 1,490 and 1,635 lives. We now head across to our dish of the day. The Daily Dishes Body, the kind compliments of our good friends at Tiles Plus.
One tiles for your home, I see. Bathroom, kitchen, pantry. Need tiles for your balcony. Come down to Tiles Plus, satisfaction guarantee. Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus. Big tiles with unbeatable cost. Customer service, A+. Did all kind of tiles. Come down to Tiles Plus. We also got gasware and vanity. Doors, you'll see. Come down to mind nobody. We got the best tiles on island. Trust me. We are located Lance Road in Castries, Bossage Brazil, and Flax Street in Beaufort. Telephone number 453-7939. Tiles Plus.
Serving now, the Daily Dish.
And welcome back to our program for today. And we do hope that you're all having a very good, day and a very good lunch as well. Now, we of course are into the month of April, and at the end of April, we head into the start of the St. Lucia Jazz and Arts Festival. And you can think back in time, and that event was started off as a response to try to boost tourism numbers, to boost visitor arrivals within the month of May. And that was because we had a very seasonal tourism economy. Years ago, it was very much centered around travel of the winter time, and the potential was largely to try to get as many people in during a sort of a 5-6 month window, if that much, between November and April. And beyond that, we saw the numbers falling off very sharply, and certainly the summer months were not times that people necessarily came to the Caribbean. That has changed a lot because the Caribbean has diversified its tourism product, and certainly St. Lucia fits into that bracket, in that we have certainly looked to embellish our offerings for the visitor, and that has largely been done through trying to go beyond the Sun, Sea, and Sand brand and to look more into other forms of experience that individuals can enjoy. Certainly entertainment, the lure of culture and the arts is why, for example, the shift occurred with respect to our carnival, shifting it to the month of July. And of course, a number of other Caribbean countries did that, some of them even before St. Lucia, taking it away from the traditional February period, where, of course, it was already competing with that of the major carnival players, the likes of Rio de Janeiro and Trinidad and Tobago, and in fact giving it some own space. But of course, the benefit of that too is that it was being placed into a period within which there would have not generally have been a lot of activity in the past by way of tourism. It would have been in the low season, in the summer period, in the month of July, and that, of course, benefited in terms of having extra room capacity to be able to bring in individuals who would be looking to enjoy the event. And of course, the other shift there was trying to target a lot more of what is known as diaspora tourism, individuals who were tended not to be the target markets for our tourism in the past, but who certainly have become very, very important by way of, in fact, encouraging individuals to come into the island. And so, of course, we're the demographic of the visitor has changed. And so you're seeing the desire to target a lot of people who may have St. Lucian ancestry, but certainly West Indian ancestry or connections within the diaspora, in particular in North America and in the United Kingdom, but beyond them as well, into a broader group of individuals who may have some a desire to experience carnival. And so, of course, in the United States, for example, there's a very large Afro-American community, individuals who've migrated out of West Africa and all from other parts of Africa who've gone to the US for study and for work. And they may very well find our cultural experiences very appealing as well. And of course, the African American base within the United States, over 19%, I think, is it a very significant amount of individuals there. Sorry, about 12% of the population and of the United States, and they, of course, are becoming a lot more of a target market for these cultural experiences. So it certainly has changed. And when we look at the whole concept of a jazz festival in and of itself, jazz having its origins within the African American experience, in particular, New Orleans and the traditions that came out of that city, also with its own carnival, which was pretty popular, is pretty popular as well. We can see definitely that there are some very interesting liaisons that are being established in terms of the cultural offerings of the of St. Lucia. And St. Lucia has managed to maintain its jazz festival, albeit there's no doubt about it, it has broadened and it has changed considerably over the years. It was certainly a lot more of the purest jazz experience in the past, but it has had to broaden its the genres available, and so we've seen some year after year new innovations coming forth in terms of the musical experience. Of course, the fusions that exist now, and so you're seeing local music coming into the fore, Creole experiences coming to the fore, the gospel nights, inspirational music coming in as well. And so certainly this need to diversify, still maintaining the name of jazz, but which is, of course, perhaps to some degree what jazz is, right? A mix of a lot of different things in some respects. And then, of course, adding in that artistic component. So we have heard and we've seen this being used over the years as a bit of a political back and forth. And we even had issues who created the jazz festival. We heard about lawsuits over this matter. We've seen individuals who were great, promoters of jazz, decide that no, jazz is not what we need anymore, and we then saw the rise of Soleil for a few years, and then of course we're back to this point where it is back on the calendar and is also certainly expanding. One of the interesting events coming up and is one of the fringe shows, at least from my perspective. And we've seen how the fringe events have really taken a life of their own and really as large as, in some instances, the main stage events at the Pigeon Island National Landmark. And you think to the likes of Soufriere and what they have been able to achieve over the years. Four Door as well has been very popular as a major jazz event. Moshi, which has branded itself with a Creole banner as well now. And what, in terms of finding these new venues, what is pretty exciting is that of Miku. And Miku has tended not to have been able to capture the tourism market as successfully as other parts of the island. The East Coast has been for some time an area where it's been very rural, very much focused on agrarian pursuits. It was really like sort of the heart of the banana industry at one point in time. And unfortunately, we have not been able to see the rise in tourism in the Miku district. There have been attempts, certainly, and we can look back to attempts at constructing hotels, promised hotels at Trumase, for example, with construction actually starting on them and actually not being able to be completed. We've also noted in the Prale area, of course, Le Paradis, which was to have been an extensive golf resort, hotels and what have you. And unfortunately, there too, in large measure, thanks to the global financial crisis and issues with Clico Investment Bank, and unfortunately, that project never saw completion either. So the Miku area has not been one that has been very, very successful in terms of being brought into the tourism product. But of course, attempts are being made, and attempts have been made, very small ones. You can think of maybe the likes of Foxgrove Inn, which was a small boutique property that had been opened by somebody from the area, indigenous person from the Miku area, the Four area. And of course, we've seen now an attempt to bring forward a Miku Jazz event. And this one is on a very picturesque peninsula, right in the heart of the village of Miku, or the town of Miku, if you want to call it that as well. And it's one of the longest peninsulas in St. Lucia. It's about a little over a kilometer in length, but very, very beautiful, picturesque, in that it's a very grassy area, lots of space, and really lends itself to being developed as a lovely park reserve, which could certainly be something that it could be great for Miku. Of course, very windy, but very, very, very picturesque, with very wonderful views of the Miku Bay, as well as on the south side as well, the Trumase Bay, and so it is due to be part of the product and the experience coming out of this jazz event for the upcoming jazz season. So definitely looking at that as perhaps one of the new innovations and new events to actually look out for. Of course, many other venues and parts of St. Lucia have been doing their thing over the years. You think, of course, to the sterling work of Labowie Promotions and individuals like Yves Renard of blessed memory, and the work that they did to develop community tourism around villages and communities like Labrie. Now, of course, just recently, I think Labrie just opened its new town market square area, and certainly that would be a nice addition to the look and feel of the town that certainly has been become a bit of an Airbnb hotspot, and allowing people to be able to have a much more diversified experience within the visitor experience within the country. Now, of course, the debate quite often rages on about, well, which direction should we be going in? Some people don't believe that we need any more hotels, that we don't need any more investment, that we already are dependent enough on tourism as it is. Of course, truth be told, there are countries in the Caribbean that are even more dependent on tourism than we are. And you can think to the likes of Curacao and Aruba in particular, and others, which really, really require or have a very extensive tourism hotel plant with a lot of rooms in comparison to St. Lucia. I mean, for the longest while, I think we've been hovering about 5,000 hotel rooms, and whereas they've been in the plans of the past, the suggestion was that we should probably be somewhere about 12,000, which really suggests that there's a long way to go between where we are at and what could potentially the island could in fact support. And you could think back way back in time, even with VA4, when there was a lot of work being done by the Canadian International Development Agency, CIDA, in visioning out the development of VA4 back in the 1960s, and also as a precursor to the investment with the international airport. They saw VA4 as certainly an area of immense potential. Lots of coastline, lots of flat land, beautiful attractions, the likes of the Maria Islands and Mola Chic and the like, and possibilities existed based on that. And they developed a very extensive master plan for VA4. A gentleman by the name of, I think Dr. Petrie was the lead on that. And at that time, they were envisioning a new city with 5,000 hotel rooms, right? That was the long-term goal for the south of the island. Of course, we've seen that the only thing that's really, in terms of a large-scale property in VA4 itself has been that of what was formerly Holiday Inn, Halcyon Days, and then, of course, it now became Coconut Bay. But we're now seeing some construction up at Honeymoon Bay or Honeymoon Beach as well, of this property that is being funded through the CIP, that of Galaxy, Zotree property up there. And that's good. But certainly there is a need still for an expansion of the offerings that are available in the south of the island, because truth be told, this is where your international airport is, and so there is certainly potential for a lot more economic activity that may not necessarily be solely for that old style of form of tourism, but the potential now to be able to look at maybe more boutique properties, also looking at diversifying your attractions. And so a lot of that certainly is very, very much possible. the lure now, of course, is that the visitor is looking a lot more for adventure tourism. They're looking for more ecotourism. They're looking for tourism that is more connected and more authentic in terms of the experiences. And so certainly we have to be looking at our tourism product beyond just the pure numbers in terms of the large scale numbers, which of course we hear lots of debates on all the time between politicians, and to see how that tourism can certainly get into greater impact, particularly at the local level. And the question is then, how do you get visitors to be able to go beyond the hotel and in fact experience a place like, say, Bellevue, right, in the heart of Vieux-Fort, which has lots of cultural traditions there, lots of the potential for even ecotourism experiences as well. And so that, I think, is certainly the challenge that we've got to be looking at. But of course, the debate, as I said, is an ongoing one. In fact, I think we do have a clip that was captured looking at the various statements on the matter of whether, in fact, we're coming or going with respect to tourism.
So that in the budget,
and I think we've got that involving Mr. Ernest Hilaire, as well as the leader of the opposition, giving their thoughts on tourism numbers and visitor arrivals.
As we look back on 2024, it is clear that we witnessed a year of remarkable growth and performance in the tourism industry.
Tourism today is no better than it was in 2019. In fact, tourism today is worse than it was in 2019.
In fact, in 2024, St. Lucia reached a historic milestone with approximately 435,000 stayover arrivals, surpassing the previous record of 423,000 set in 2019.
Because they're talking about the numbers of arrivals, but it's not about the numbers of arrivals, it's about the expenditure. When people stay more room nights, they spend more money.
Total visitor expenditure is estimated at 3.5 billion EC dollars. Think about that. 3.5 billion EC dollars.
Everything is worse.
Let me put these records in context. All of this was achieved with at least 500 less rooms than we had in 2023.
Everything is worse.
This growth is not just a number. It represents the hard work, passion, and dedication of each one of you, and the confidence that the world has in our island, our people, and the beauty we offer.
Right, and that, of course, was a back and forth taken from two different events, one being the leader of the opposition speaking at one of their, I think, Sunday events, which have been put on by the United Workers' Party. And the other would have been the day before, the weekend past, or the Saturday past, I should say, at the Jimmy's, which are the tourism awards, the annual awards of the St. Lucia Tourism Authority. And of course, different pictures being painted. But of course, the numbers are pretty interesting, as being pointed out. In the year 2024, visitor arrivals, finally in the post-COVID period, surpassing that of the previous record year, which was 2019. So we've gotten back and now have surpassed that 2019 figure. And of course, we all know the major impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic in this regard Also, the actual visitor spend being higher than ever before. Used to be about 2.9 billion. And so it has actually come up to, I think, about 3.5, according to the tourism minister, indicating that you're seeing greater spend. Now, of course, greater spend may be coming from a lot of different reasons. It might be things are more expensive as well. It could also be that people are, in fact, spending more. And that, of course, is very important, because you want to be able to see the impacts in people's pockets and in terms of people's experiences. How to ensure that more of that dollar actually remains on island has always been part of the challenge. And a major aspect of that has been that we have simply the model that we used before, and some will argue that we had no choice, of course, was that you needed to have large scale foreign direct investment, individuals who are on the outside, who have the capital, can in fact come in and invest in the in tourism hotel accommodation plant in particular, because that's where you've got a significantly high cost involved there. Normally, on average, you're speaking about a good couple $100,000 per room. And so if you just think about it, you want to put down a 50, 100, 200 room hotel, you are talking in the tens of millions. So that's really where we've sort of had our thrust in the past, that we've been looking for investors to come in to make those investments. We know that has not always happened. We know that in many instances, sometimes the investors have come in and they haven't even been able to purchase the land, right? And we've seen that experience in the case of things like DSH, unfortunately. And we've even seen it in respect of certain other projects like golf resorts, right? So, definitely that model of investment as to how we capitalize on tourism is very, very important. And how do we, in fact, own more of the share? Now, when you look at that 3.5 billion EC dollars, which is a significant amount of money when you consider the size of our GDP, which is like maybe about 6 billion. So it's well over 50% of our GDP, our gross domestic product. But the big question is how much of it actually even gets into the island, and how much of it is seen. A lot of the spend, and remember, this spend is the way it's being calculated out of exit surveys of tourism, of visitors. A lot of the spend is in hotels, right? Those bed nights that people are spending. And a lot of that, of course, ends up not even touching the banks, local banks in St. Lucia, right? So that is a major thrust that has to occur. How do you now see the possibility of greater ownership of the hotel accommodation on the island by St. Lucians? Very early on, in one of the first hotels built in St. Lucia back in the 1960s, 1961, I think it was when it opened, was that of the St. Lucia Beach Hotel, which is, I believe, probably down for demolition now. Went through a number of different phases, and it was last known as Starfish of COVID-19 isolation fame. And that was the first hotel, and it was actually thanks to investment, a private investment, you could think of it as, through a colonial government agency known as the CDC, the Colonial Development Corporation. And so, of course, there was a need to, how do you jumpstart your tourism? How do you get enough? You need a significant amount of capital, which has to be invested. And so that has been the model that has been utilized thus far. That was the model that was utilized once, but we changed somewhat certainly into trying to depend a lot more on FDI, foreign direct investment, coming in, which has its place, certainly has its place, because you need that. But then how now do we allow for a greater ownership of our tourism is something that I think we need to have a serious conversation about, especially in terms of hotel plans, because there is risk. There's no doubt about it. In the case of just recently, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, they, of course, just went through the creation of a new international airport at Argyle, significant amount of money. But even so, the government over there still had to come in and is looking to see how they could invest in additional hotel rooms through government intervention, government involvement. And to some degree, if this is your business, there's nothing wrong with that. And if you, in fact, know that you got good rates of return, then it is not a bad business proposition. So we've been very challenged in being able to do so. And there have not been very many solutions who've been able to do so successfully. In fact, one of the individuals who has been able to do so is that of the proprietress of the Bay Gardens resort chain. And she, of course, was recognized with a Lifetime Contribution Award, that of Mrs. Joyce Destang. And so certainly congratulations to her on what has been a very, very long journey, 30 years in the business, and being able to take that plunge and getting into that business. Her brother, Mr. Greg Glass, also was in it, and of course shared many of his experiences, no doubt, with the Islander Hotel. But she's been able to build a successful, locally owned, indigenously owned chain of hotels, and of course, even right now, they are continuing to expand with respect to a new part of their beach resort. I think it's going to be known as the Sapphire Beach, or Safi Beach, if you like. And so that's definitely what we need to see more of in terms of St. Lucians being able to actually own more of the hotel plant, because that's really where you're going to have a lot more of the money being able to be retained in the country and then plowed back into investment. And so perhaps part of that journey that we've got to be on is how that can be achieved. Is there a role, for example, for the National Insurance Corporation and their investment arm or their property development arm to be thinking about this? Now, the tendency, of course, in the past has been that they've invested in many different areas, and including, of course, in terms of government properties, in a way helping out the government. But one could argue that some of those investments are really, yes, you're getting money from a reliable source, which is government. But is there a need possibly to, in fact, invest in the leading industry in St. Lucia, that of tourism? And should it be at an arm's length distance by just virtue of providing the capital, providing the equity into such investments with local entrepreneurs? Or could it also be the possibility of actually going and making that upfront investment in some instances where, in fact, it is deemed that it's a really, really good investment and it fits into the overall national development priorities for the country? So some food for thought on that matter, but we're going to have to end our dish of the day on tourism at this point because we're a little over time on it. And of course, we're going to take in our weather report.
This has been The Daily Dish.
One tiles for your home, I see. Bathroom, kitchen, pantry. Need tiles for your balcony. Come down to Tiles Plus, satisfaction guarantee. Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus. Big tiles with unbeatable cost. Customer service, A plus. This all kind of tiles. Come down to Tiles Plus. We also got gasway and vanity. Box, doors, you'll see. Come down to my nobody. We got the best tiles on island. Trust me. We are located Lag Street in Castries, Bossy Brazilians, and Flag Street in Beaufort. Telephone number 453-7939.
Island style, yeah. We got the time to make you go. We got the time to make you say, yeah. We'll have to make the right choice. Island style, whoa. We got the time that will make you happy. Island style, oh yeah. We make your dream come alive in Island style.
We have tiles and thin sets, pieces and ground. Everything you need is on the house out. For the best price and the latest style. Take a little drive down to Island Style car.
We got the time to make you go. We got the time to make you say, quality rice, service choice. It's all an Island Style.
Visit us at our showrooms in Bellarosa, Rodney Bay, on the John Compton Highway, Cass Street, and behind Ruby's Gas Station on the Library Viewport Highway. So call us on 450-452 or 453-TILE. Island Style, Tile and Bath. When you think tile, think Island Style.
This is Radio Caribbean International. It's now time for the weather news.
National Fossil 1.1 is now time for your weather report as of 12 noon today, presented by Island Style Calendar. The forecast for St. Lucia Valley for the next 24 hours, the winds will be blowing from the east near 18 miles per hour or 30 kilometers per hour. The weather fair to partly cloudy skies with a few brief showers. The forecast for the Les Antilles is fair to partly cloudy skies with a few brief showers. And the weather summary, the Atlantic high pressure system will continue to generate moderate easterly winds over the eastern Caribbean region. For the that should be the Atlantic high pressure system. The Atlantic high pressure system will continue to generate moderate easterly winds over the eastern Caribbean region during the next few days. Shallow patches of low-level clouds moving along the windflow will produce some brief showers over the region during the next 24 hours. And this was your weather forecast as of 12 noon today, presented by Island Style Talent Back.
This has been RCI's Weather News. For more information, call the Weather Hotline at 454-3452. RCI 101 number 1.
Island Style, yeah. We got the time to make you go. We got the time to make you say, we'll have to make the right choice. Island Style, whoa. We got the time that will make you happy. Island Style, oh yeah. We make your dream come alive in Island Style.
We have tiles and thin sets, pieces and ground. Everything you need is on the house out. For the best price and the latest style. Take a little drive down to Island Style car.
We got the time to make you go. We got the time to make you say, quality rice, service choice. It's all an Island Style.
Visit us at our showrooms in Bellarosa, Rodney Bay, on the John Compton Highway, Cass Street, and behind Ruby's Gas Station on the Library Viewport Highway. So call us on 450-452 or 453-TILE. Island Style, Tile and Bath. When you think tile, think Island Style.
And welcome back to our program here at the Lunchroom on Radio Caribbean International. And of course, you can call in to tell us what's on your plate today. And that number is 452-3046, 452-3046. Of course, we've been speaking about tourism, and even the United States is facing some tourism blues. They are seeing a significant drop in Canadians heading into the United States. I wonder why. Let's take in a call at this time, and we head to the phone lines. Good afternoon. Welcome to the lunchroom. Looks like we actually lost that call. Of course, the number to call in is 4523046. Again, 4523046. Yep, the data is showing, I think, as of February, a significant drop. I think, well, about 25% drop, I think, in the numbers of Canadians heading into the United States. And that has been in large measure due to the politics, due to the concerns that Canadians are facing as a result of the imposition of tariffs on Canada, and of course the rather unsavory remarks of the desire of Mr. Trump to have Canada relegated to that of the 51st state within the United States of America. Let's head back to the phone lines to take in a call. Good afternoon and welcome to the lunchroom. What's on your plates today?
Good afternoon.
Hi, caller. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. I'd just like to ask a question.
Yes.
Has work on St. Jude stopped? Because some time ago, I think about last month or a month before, when they give a presentation of the MRI machine and some state-of-the-art equipment. There was Dr. King, there was all of them. And then one of the speakers said, since we will be opening in about 4 to 6 months' time, that slipped out. But I think last week I heard somebody call on the program that Spider and them have. And he said that the works at St. Jude has stopped and Reno has left the job because the Saudi Arabia government has not given them the balance of the money.
I would find that very hard to believe, to be quite honest, caller. And I could probably say no, that work has not stopped. We could probably try to get somebody on air, maybe to give us an update on that. But certainly a lot of the work that is being done right about now is in internal works.
Mm-hmm.
So that has, as far as I know, continues apace. There were some civil works like the car park area and the circular road and some of that stuff, but lighting as well. But I don't think that the work of St. Jude has stopped. I don't know why.
Yeah, that's what I found strange, because Johnny isn't much. I don't know if it was the CEO of the St. Jude's Hospital or whoever it is, but they said since we will be opening in 4 to 6 months. So I found that strange when this person called and said that the Reno had already left because they didn't have money to pay this, and all of these things. Because I think the host had to say he may have to put a disclaimer on his show, because when people just call and they say anything.
In fact, I think last week there was a visit of a Saudi team visited the site, from what I believe. So I don't think so, and that's a very strange rumor. But we've been hearing some very strange things. I caught a part of a program in which this individual was complaining about we saying we had a water crisis, he says. And according to him, the current administration stopped the desilting of the John Compton Dam. Now, that I don't understand. Exactly what he meant by that, because there was a distinct project that was undertaken, right, by the former administration, involving the desilting of the dam, and it came to an end. And it unfortunately did not meet what it said it was going to achieve
at all.
And I think, in fact, there's even Mr. Dominic Fede went on record saying that it was only able to desilt, I think, 8% of the of the dam, 8% of the amount of silt that is in the dam. And I mean that.
And then Mr. Ezekiel Joseph also said it would take about 80 years for that to be, because I remember he said it would take like 80 years for them to still that saying that. I remember he saying that. It was on the news when he said so. He was just speaking.
Yeah, and I mean, and beyond that, there's some significant challenges that Wasco faces. I mean, in terms of the infrastructure that it has, which is very aged. In fact, there was quite recently the government announced that they were providing through the CDB funding for the relaying of, I think, nearly 5.5 kilometers of the raw water line that leads from the dam to the Fibbles treatment plant.
Yeah.
Right, and that is critical because that has been a major part of why we're seeing so many water disruptions in the north of the island, because this line is like you've got to be patching it every month, and every time you patch it, you end up with more leaks, and so it really has to be completely redone, reconstructed. A brand new pipeline has to be put in, and it's the priorities. We saw the priorities in the past was to go and build a building in the south for which is arguably not even really needed by Wasco.
Yes,
and a significant amount of money was spent on it. Remember where the VA4 administrative center was supposed to have been built?
Was supposed to have built that thing, the administration.
Yes.
And it never came to fruition.
No, it never did. Although there's been a statement by the government saying that it will be looking to recommence that sometime soon. But I mean, in the case of Wasco, looks like it. And this same caller actually was trying to say that Mr. Shastney was the one who started the VA4 water supply project, and this government stopped it. Now, I thought that was also another incredulous statement that he made, because number one,
I'm sure it's E.T. that said that.
I don't know who the individual was, but I just caught it, and
he usually calls and says some kind of outrageous, mix them up, outrageous comment. Never true.
What no, I don't think it was him though. I think I know who you're talking about. Somebody, but it was some other individual. But but that I mean is absolutely false, because number one, the project started under the Kenny Anthony administration with money being sourced from the CDB. It was ongoing during the Alan Chastney administration, but to say that it was stopped as well is not true. So I don't know. It's unfortunate that we're hearing a lot of these things, these suggestions.
Yes, a whole lot of lies are coming out. I listened. You played that recording there, and he said tourism is worse than it was in 2019. But I noticed one thing: there was only one clap.
Well, Cole, I don't know how many people were in the
only
audience.
One person that clapped.
I
don't. A room full of people and you make a comment like that, and only one person clapped. What the others are saying to you?
Cole, I don't know. I mean, some of these meetings we don't really see the audience, so it's hard to say who Mr. Shastney was speaking to, and at the time.
Most of these is adults, and they think they usually have, Because even sometimes when Mr. Guy Joseph is speaking on like an incident, say example when he was the large crowd, when he was talking about the injection, he's not taking them when he's still sick. That was not there. Another time when he came and he said...
Well, but I'm telling you, caller, you don't know how many people are in the room, so you don't know how many people could be there to clap.
No, you there listening, and the large number of people.
It's a large number of people? Really? Okay.
Yeah, sometimes they have a large number of people, I'm told, because when he came out and he said he have all the evidence, he had a whole lot of paper, and he said that.
Okay.
All that they say, and he had all the evidence. But the response, there's certain things that they say,
right,
and then they'll have allowed applause, and there's certain things that they will say the applause won't be there. You might just find one or two people with applause. I suppose that's a message that people are sending to you when you don't hear the applause. They're saying to you that what you're saying is not true. And I don't think they get that, because you find some of them making some kind of statements which they know is untrue, but yet they're going to say it. It is not fair. As I'm talking about that, I listened to Trump some time ago on a program, and he would really like to run like a third
term.
A third term. But since you can only do 2 consecutive years,
terms.
I mean, what he feel like he said he was trying to do is, while he's working on that, because he would need to complete what he has started, he would step back and allow J.D. Vance to be the president in order for him to work on it, so that Listen to the gentleman saying that, but I could not. So that way, if you step away and allow J.D. Vance to be the president, that means he was not a president.
I don't I mean, as far as I know, that is not that he cannot run a third term. I mean, this is a constitutional matter,
Mhm.
and there in fact has been there was an amendment to the constitution,
But he
right?
changes all amendments,
No, I'm just
changes it.
no, but he'll have to get the Congress will have to in fact amend the constitution, or
But
bring
most
in a
of the
new
men in the
amendment to the constitution to
most of
allow
the
him.
men in the Congress are his men,
Well,
and they're afraid of him.
yeah, but then they would need to get a certain majority. So you would have to get, I think, a 2/3 majority of the houses, houses of
But he
Congress.
knows he's going to get it. That's the thing,
A
and he will
two-third,
get
but
it.
no, he wouldn't. He would not get a 2/3 majority of the House on the House and the Senate
But
on that.
most of those guys are afraid of him.
Yeah, but he doesn't have enough votes. I mean, yes, they have a majority, but they don't have an absolute majority. So he would not be able to um, get that kind of support. I don't see that happening.
But you know, this guy can do anything he wants, chooses to.
Well, I no,
He
I don't think
changes
I
so many
don't think
things.
I don't think we can say that he can do whatever he wants. He believes that he can do whatever he wants, but
Yeah.
I think I don't see that actually happening. I mean, there are a lot of
And
things
look
that
at
he says, and we've seen clearly that he has had no choice but to back down on a lot of the things that he's trying to achieve.
and we come out with another angle. That's what he does.
Part of it too, caller, is that it's for him. It's let's just keep the media cycle going. Let's just keep ourselves in the news, whether it's good or bad.
Yeah.
It helps. In terms of his numbers or whatever it is. Not in terms of his popularity numbers, perhaps, but just
Yeah.
in terms of
Well, because of the
people.
flip flopping of the tariff and the Wall Street, that thing, the prices going up, the prices come back down, the prices going, and all of the time his friends are benefiting, they're becoming richer and richer and richer, as though it's some inside trading taking place there. Why all of those things are happening, because you have to listen to some of those programs like MSBC and all the children. They tell you a lot of his friends, every time this thing goes up, down, or it goes up, they're getting richer by the day.
Yeah, and there's an irony in
Everything
all
got
of this, right?
planned.
He was actually accusing countries of all sorts of currency manipulation and
Yeah,
doing all sorts of things to make it more difficult for American trade. But here now
yeah.
we're seeing a lot of suggestions that we might be witnessing market manipulation. That
Yes, that's
there's a
what I
deliberate.
listen every night. I listen to those programs, and you hear that is what's going on. People are alerted before those things happen, so they know when to buy, when, and so as if it's inside trading that is taking place there for his friends. And these things are not. How can one man, have all that power to do these
Well,
things?
what we're also seeing, caller, is that there are people who have no issue maintaining him there because they believe that they have him on speed dial and that they can get, even though he might come out and say, hey, we're 145%, 200% tariffs on China,
Yeah.
but there are other people who know that they can still call him
Yes.
and say, hey, well, we need to be exempted from that, right?
Yeah.
And that's what he loves. That's what he loves. I
Yeah.
think
And
people now having to come and
I'm wondering if he's going to keep Elon Musk by the end of May 30th,
well,
because that's when his time is due.
Elon is now back to being the wealthiest man in the world at $345 billion. So I think whatever happens between they may have a short fallout, but at the end of the day, I'm sure they will not go too far apart. Yeah. Trump, Mr. Trump needs Elon, and Elon needs Mr. Trump. I don't know.
But the day that thing break between them, all the break loose.
Well,
Yeah.
we'll see.
Yeah.
All right, then, caller. Thanks very much for that contribution.
Okay, then.
And just to read out a fact check on the matter of can Trump serve a third term. There's a piece coming out of last year, actually. It says President-elect Donald Trump who returned to office for a second term on January, this has happened already, recently reignited a constitutional debate about whether a twice elected president can serve a third term. Quote, I suspect I won't be running again unless you say he's so good, we've got to figure something else out, Trump told House Republicans on November 13th, perhaps jokingly. The 22nd Amendment, which was ratified in 1951, states that, quote, no person shall be elected to the office of the president more than twice, end quote. The amendment was spurred by President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who was elected president an unprecedented 4 times, the nonpartisan Congressional Research Service said in a 2019 report. The 22nd Amendment would block Trump, who at 78 is the oldest person to be elected president in U.S. history, from running for a third term, unless it was repealed, which is highly unlikely. Quote, I don't think there's any realistic possibility that the 22nd Amendment could be repealed. Kermit Roosevelt, a constitutional law professor at the University of Pennsylvania and great-great-grandson of President Theodore Roosevelt, told us in an email, quote, that would take another amendment, like the 21st, repealing the 18th, and I don't think it would get 2/3 of both houses of Congress, much less 3/4 of the states, end quote. To add an amendment to the Constitution, the House and the Senate both need to approve a joint resolution with a 2/3 majority, and then 75% of the states must ratify the amendment. The 18th Amendment, which ushered in the Prohibition era, is the only amendment ever to be repealed. But as the CRS stated in a 2009 report, there has been a debate as to whether the 22nd Amendment is an absolute limit on service as president. While it is clear that a person cannot be elected to a third term, whether a twice elected president can serve a third term as president or acting president is an unresolved constitutional question, the CRS report stated. Legal scholars Bruce Peabody and Scott Grant asserted in a 1999 article that a former president could also succeed to the presidency or be, quote, acting president from the wide range of positions covered in the Presidential Succession Act, the 2019 CRS report said. By their reasoning, a former president serving as Speaker of the House, President pro tempore, or the Senate, or as a cabinet officer would also be able to assume the office of president or act as president under the service versus election interruption of the 22nd Amendment. So in other words, what they're saying there is that in the line of succession, if this person who was president twice before was somehow placed into some other position which is in the line of succession, they could potentially become an acting president. It goes on. Under the Presidential Succession Act, the vice president is the first of 18 people in line to replace a president who dies, resigns, or is otherwise unable to hold office. The House Speaker is second in line, and it is worth noting the Republicans retain control of the House after the 2024 election. Trump entertained the thought of becoming House Speaker last year when the House Republicans were divided on who should replace deposed House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. And this is an article that is available on factcheck.org. If you'd like to continue reading it, you can check that one out. But we're going to have to put a pause on the program for today. And of course, we'll be back again tomorrow, God willing, for another season or another show of the Lunchroom on Radio Caribbean International. Of course, we do hope that everybody's having a good one. I'm your host, Alex George Jr., saying goodbye.